the weight of carrying responsibility, especially as a firstborn, like as the Latina woman, where your role is to be quiet and just serve and be grateful that you get this opportunity to care for the family, you know? And really sitting with myself, and instead of just thinking through like, how do I fix this? How do I get through this? Processing it with my therapist and being able to be like, I am overwhelmed. I am so tired. And to hear my therapist reflect back to me, sounds like you have a lot. And I'm like, oh my God, you're so right. Like just having that validation has helped me be able to know it's okay. I don't have to do everything well, because I have a lot that I'm carrying right now.
Welcome to Here to Uplift. This is where we uplift our community by sharing the real stories and wisdom of entrepreneurs, changemakers, and innovators. No fluff, just the good, bad, and ugly of their journeys. It's a new season, and we are breaking bread in a segment I call Let's Talk About It, highlighting the food and culture of Silicon Valley. So you might get a little hungry. Your support means everything. So if you enjoy this episode, learn something new, or feel inspired, please share it with a friend or that entrepreneur who needs a boost. Now, let's get into it. So, I am excited to have this conversation already, just to learn about your story, but even more so because we've known each other for years, but this is our first time meeting in person. So I'm like, I was literally so pumped. I'm like, I'm going to meet Kelly in person. This is so exciting. So there's a lot of things I kind of want to just pick your brain on, and everything's good.
Thank you.
And just catch up on in general since it's been a while. But for those listening, we met through the Decolonize Your Teaching mentorship program with Angie, which I always link her stuff in the bottom. So I will link hers if you're interested at all. And that's kind of how we both were starting and working on our own businesses on the wellness side.
Yep.
But we also have other things that we're doing. So please introduce yourself and you kind of just tell folks like what's going on in your world before we dive into food.
Oh my gosh, yes. So thank you for just putting this time together for us to get to meet, because it's one thing to build a relationship virtually, and I'm so grateful that we had Zoom and opportunities to connect and text, and there's just something so special about getting to meet the person, see the person, like just share the same energy and space together. And that was the part that I was so excited about us getting together. So, this last year I have been working full-time at a tech company here in the Bay, remotely from my home in Orlando, Florida, and have had the opportunity to really see my business evolve into what it is that works for me as a mom, as a full-time employee, as a sister, as a parent. And so it's been really interesting to see how wellness and all the things that I teach, every day I get to reteach myself to make it important. And, that involved the health scare with my father this year, where he had to have open heart surgery. And I actually took 3 months off of work in order to become a full-time caregiver to my dad. Yes.
Oh, I had no idea. Okay.
Yes. And then, we were talking about generational wealth.
Yeah.
It's been so amazing to be able to have a job that allows me to build that, where we purchased our forever home now, which was exactly what we wanted. So we've been there.
I need more stories like this. I just got chills. I never hear anybody say that anymore.
Oh my gosh, yes. It was amazing. And we've been there a year now, and we're starting to make it our home. The big project was putting in a patio, and my husband joked he wanted a sports court. And it ended up actually becoming kind of a sports court, because it's a big enough patio. We have the basketball court out there. We have the pickleball court.
Oh, and Lynn's going to love that as he grows up there.
Yes. And so it's just been really nice settling into my family life. Yeah. And also, this is the first time that I've been back full-time living with my family in 12 years. With my mom and dad, my twin brother, his wife, and their 3 kids. And we all live 5 minutes away from each other.
Yes, so when we met, you were in Seattle at the time, right? Working in higher ed.
Yes.
And that was our other commonality. We were both doing kind of our yoga wellness world, but working in higher education within the DEI space. And I was like, how do we have this much in common? This
oh my God, crazy. I know. And look at us now. Higher
All
ed
shifted up,
pivoters.
right?
Yes.
That's the caption for this, higher ed
Yes.
pivoters.
Yes, there is life after higher ed. And I think that's the piece, like,
I need that on a shirt too.
I know, seriously. Because I was hardcore higher ed. I got a PhD in adult education.
Right.
I thought I was on a VP track, president track at some point.
I thought so. I was like, I need to know this woman because I am going through a tough time in my DEI space. So I think at the time we met, I was on fire for the DEI space.
Yep.
But also really frustrated with the bureaucracy of it, I think is the best way to say it, but just continuing to get like strongholded and not actually able to make change on campus. So I was like, she's doing it, she's up there, how is she doing it?
I don't know.
But after a while, it's like you, Sherrod Robbins, one of my supervisors a long time ago, said this phrase, and I hated it at the time. He said, is social justice the hill worth dying on for you?
Yeah.
And he's like, it is for me, but is it for you? And I was like, I don't like that. Like, I don't like the idea of that. What do you mean worth? And then years later, I was like, my mental health is at risk. My physical health, I was getting migraines every day. I was having anxiety attacks going into the office.
Yep.
Like, something is off here. Like, everything in my physical body and my spirit is telling me to stop. But I'm like, I said I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep working towards it. What's going on? It's like, I had to listen to the signs that God was telling me right now. Like, this is not the hill worth dying on.
No.
And it took me so long to actually separate from that.
Yes. And, I think that's the thing, that it doesn't have to be one way or another. It doesn't mean you've stopped being a social justice warrior.
Right.
You've just been able to evolve in how you do that.
Yes.
And I know.
I had to change that whole mindset. Like, it does not have to be in this space to do the work.
Yes. And that's probably the hardest part, especially when, like, as a child of immigrants, I thought, success was being a lawyer, a doctor, a nurse, or an engineer.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that, I could work for a tech company and work in human resources and be able to find a space and place where I can still feel like I'm truly making a difference in this other place and feel even more successful than I was previously. And not just because of the finances, because, that's nice, I gotta say, pero it's because of the flexibility and support to be my full self. At work, I get to be my full self, bring my family in. My son knows my colleagues from across the globe because he says goodnight to them while I'm on calls.
I love that.
It's such an amazing experience from, my little home office in Orlando, Florida, to be connected to people all across the world. And I just really think that that's the piece. When I was in higher ed, I really appreciated the community, the internal community of the campus.
Right.
And there's so much
together.
Oh, I know, seriously. And again, that's the point of a college campus, right? Is to be this meeting of the minds, literally and physically, and institutionalized.
Yes.
That's why it's an institution. And getting to leave that and go into the private sector, I feel so much more connected to the world. Because I have this opportunity to connect with people across countries, borders, wherever they may be. And now everything is my institution that I belong in or can advocate for, still from a DEI DID space.
That is the perspective we need to hear.
Absolutely. Oh my God.
That is not a perspective I heard not once during my time in higher ed. So I'm like, I'm hoping that somebody hears this and it's like, there's more, there's options. Because if you are called to be in the higher ed space, do it.
Yeah.
But if you're not and something's off, like, there are other options. And I just needed to know that there were other options.
And especially listening to your body. The fact that it started manifesting in dis-ease, right?
Off.
Yeah, like from our yoga.
Disease.
Disease. Like your body was saying, no thank you. I'm trying to save you from this. There is more. And how often do we not listen to our own intuition?
Literally.
And then it becomes something like a migraine or an anxiety attack where it's like, oh, okay, I guess I got to listen to this now.
Yeah. Yes.
We don't have to get that far.
I agree. We don't have to get that far. You don't need to go into disease.
No.
Check out where the ease is lost. Okay.
Yes.
I don't want your food to get cold. Let's do this. We are at Puesto in Santa Clara.
Yes.
You've been here before. I have not. But I am so excited to feature this spot, to try it out. So we're going to take a moment to eat because we have plenty to talk about. So let's do it without our first mouthfuls.
Thank you, thank you. I know, I'm all up in there.
Ooh, I'm so excited.
I'm like, yay! Well, cheers,
really am
enjoy.
So I don't know where to start. Meat. Let me start with the meat. I've been having dental issues too. I have a bridge in the front. And it has come like de-cemented. So it's like I have the temporary glue on right now, and I'm like, please don't come out while I'm talking. Let's just hang in there, please. And I always forget until I'm about to take a mouthful of taco, and then I'm like,
My husband plays hockey, and some of his friends from his team, they've had their teeth knocked out and stuff, and so I had no idea. And then I see him out on the ice, and I'm like, does so-and-so not have teeth? And he's like, yeah, those are all fake. I'm like, that is so cool. They look so great.
Does he play professionally or for fun?
No, for funsies.
I was like, dang.
He even found a hockey place in Florida.
All right.
Who would have thought? Hockey in Florida.
You know what? I've been to like one hockey game ever, and I was like really young. I think I was like a kid or teen. But it was so fun, but so violent. So I was like,
I know,
a little too much for me at that young age. But we live really close to where the Sharks play.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about going to one of their games soon, just for the fun of it. I love sporting events in general.
I do have to say, I really enjoy watching hockey now. I don't like all the fighting and stuff. I think, especially like where we lived when we were in Spokane, there was a minor league team. They're like 16, 17, like they're young kids.
Who are they?
Yeah, and they're down there fighting and stuff, and people are like, yeah, rip his head off. And I'm like, those are children.
He has a life ahead of him.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, we don't need violence.
That's funny. I appreciate that this is actually a great cut of meat.
Right? And they give a substantial amount. Like, it's not just like 2 or 3 little pieces.
Exactly. Ooh. It's funny, the first few bites I was good. Now my mouth is like a little on fire, but it's like at the back of the throat. It's not the front of the mouth. So I'm like, something's got some heat. I just don't know where it's coming from. Are you vegetarian? Did you get all? No? Okay. I wasn't sure. I always need to ask people that.
Oh, yeah. I know, all the dietary
Let's
restrictions.
talk about it. And then they're like, I don't eat meat.
No, yeah.
I feel like this, of all places, would be a good place if you were. We have so many options, but...
Oh my God, no. Yeah, no, I love meat. Now, my 12-year-old nephew ended up developing Crohn's disease.
It has mostly to do with gluten, is that?
It's like everything.
Everything? Okay.
Yeah, like, poor kid, man. And so we've had to be really thoughtful now about, like, what he eats, what he doesn't eat. When we go out, like, what can he eat? So, yes, I think that's, like, one of the best things, getting to go to eat with people. Like, we can all come together around food. And often, like, I didn't even think twice previously about being like, oh, is this going to work for somebody who might have a restriction, you know?
Right. Higher ed taught me a lot about that, I will say.
I know.
Everything was about being considerate of that, particularly with programming and everything. I'm glad I learned that.
Yep.
But I will say, please correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like that's very new in most like Hispanic and Latino cultures, is like, you eat what's made, like you don't really think a second thought about like, what could my health be saying?
Oh yeah. It's definitely like 1.5 second gen stuff.
And it's hard to break from habits or traditions when it's like, oh my gosh, this is the family meal that we like love. If it's like super unhealthy for us, but it's like, oh, but it's our family tradition to pass down this meal. So then it's like, oh, how do we change that? I don't want to change it. How do we change it?
We're getting people to think differently. Like we were talking about higher ed, right? Same thing about food. Like I have a friend who's Puerto Rican and she's vegan. And of course, our family's like, what the hell are you going to do? Like, how are you going to eat? Blah, blah, blah. She's like, literally, our entire diet consists of rice and beans. So, like, nothing's changing. I'm still going to eat plátanos. I'm still going to eat yuca. I'm still going to eat all those things that are Puerto Rican. Just I'm not going to have the pork in it.
Just one thing or you know, sometimes it's almost the opposite. Like, a lot of folks might be vegetarian or vegan, but it has nothing to do with health. Maybe it's like, I just don't want to eat animal products or have a thing with meat. And it's like, you could be vegetarian and not be healthy. That's the other thing.
Oh my God, I know.
A lot of people are like, oh, I'll just be vegetarian and that guarantees my health. And I'm like, not always. No, like, I tried vegan once for like 30 days, and it was more just experimental. And I enjoyed it a lot because it forced me to cook more things and just try new recipes. But it wasn't something that I was like, I need to be vegan, so it didn't stick with me. But I was pescatarian for a long time, and it wasn't necessarily a choice. It was just naturally what I cooked, what I ordered when I went out. And then it stuck. So then I was like, yeah, I'm going to start saying it now that I know the word and whatever. But pregnancy, I craved a lot more meat. When I was a kid, I was anemic. Haven't really had issues as an adult until I was pregnant. And then they're like, you're anemic, like you need more iron. Which you absolutely can get iron from, like veggies and stuff, but I wasn't eating enough of that to get iron. So since being pregnant, through pregnancy, through breastfeeding, and even now, I eat so much more meat than I used to. And I am not mad at it at all, because I also didn't know how my body would respond to this much meat. And it's actually going really well. It's like so challenging to me, because I've always had this thought that red meat is not good for you.
I know.
But I've been so much healthier majority of the time since eating like triple the amount of protein that I was before, and mostly coming from red meat.
And that's the thing, it's like red meat is bad if you're eating
chicken, but
like if it's in overabundance and everything you're eating is like bacon. It's all about the fat.
I don't eat that much pork still.
Yeah, like being able to eat even like pork loin is so healthy. But everybody goes for the nice fatty stuff because that's where the flavor is and what we've been socialized to eat.
That's funny. Like, even in our house, I have to go back and forth because I actually prefer chicken breast.
So,
but the boys prefer chicken thighs, bone in, give me the juiciness. And I'm like, I've always had just a weird thing about bones. Like, I just don't know what it is, but give me the chicken breast. I'll be happy.
All day, every day. For real. Yeah, for us, it's interesting because, like, I've been on my own, living on the West Coast for so long. So, like, at our home, and my husband's white, right?
Yeah.
So at our home, like, we don't eat a lot of rice or beans and that kind of stuff. Or if we do, it's more Mexican-centric.
Okay.
Like a lot of black beans. You know, guacamole, ceviche, that kind of food. And for my parents, they're like, you're so confused. Like, what are you? I'm like, I'm somebody who likes to eat what I like to eat. Like, that's all.
Were you born in America?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like that's also different with second gen and just learning life in a different perspective than our parents.
Yes.
Which I'm not from immigrant family directly, right? But at some point.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing. It's like, I couldn't find the stuff that I knew growing up in the Northwest, so I had to adapt. And those things have now become part of our meals and the ways that we plan things.
Yeah.
And like for my family, it's always so foreign. They're like, you do what to your spaghetti? You use that?
Oh my gosh, the boys do not like the way I make spaghetti, but I make it the way I grew up. And it's so American-ish, but it's not really Italian. That's the thing. Yeah. So it's like my mom always put smoked sausage in it. She put corn in it, and then I don't always do this, but she would shred cheddar cheese like on top of it, so it's almost like spaghetti casserole.
Yeah.
And I still love it to this day. I add usually ground turkey. She does ground beef. Like, we have little changes that we do, but it still hits. It's like, that's my comfort food.
Right?
It's my mom's spaghetti pot. Not Italian spaghetti, but so good.
Exactly. Like,
ooh, these mushrooms.
I think the mushroom one is my favorite.
Oh.
It always is like such a slam dunk,
I love mushrooms and this just hit, girl. Oh,
right?
oh my gosh.
And with the cheese.
If it makes me dance, that's a good sign. I'm like, that one. The first one was bomb. This one is bomber. Even better.
Yeah.
Shoot, maybe I am vegetarian. Just kidding.
Man, my spaghetti recipe is always turkey meat, and then I always throw zucchini in it. Because again, it doesn't taste like anything. It cooks down. You get some veggies. My mom can't get over it. She's like, "You're doing what?"
I had zucchini too a lot.
Right? It's just, again, it's good to get the veggies in there.
Still Italian.
And nobody knows. Yeah, it's a little French inspired ratatouille, you know?
You know, that's actually
Going to Remy.
interesting too, because it's true. It's true. I've learned a few of like the basic Wednesday dishes now. So it's like I can make the Nicaraguan version of rice. Took me a few tries because they fry the rice first with the bell peppers and onions. So they have it has a different texture than if you're just like making white rice typically. But now I got that.
Nice.
But the chicken soup, it's like I haven't made it myself yet. I've only helped make it.
Okay.
And that's something that I want to be able to make soon, especially like when the family's feeling sick or whatever. Just feel
yeah.
good. Like my mother-in-law had a huge pot of her chicken soup waiting for me at our house after I had the baby. So like I came home to this huge pot of soup. It's so soothing.
Oh
like,
my
the
God,
most
yes.
comforting thing ever. But the point is, it has like all three different types of like the zucchini squash in it. And I was like, I didn't know this was used so much. Like, good to know. And then almost all of her dishes I've noticed have the squash in it. I'm like, okay, now I know.
Yes. It's such a good staple.
Yes. Okay, so you've tried a little bit of all three now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So how are they?
Delicious. I'm like, I could sit here and eat these all day.
Good.
I'm glad they suggest 3. Because again, my eyes can get a little bit bigger than my belly. And 3 is just the right size.
I almost got 4 just for the sake of wanting to try stuff. But yeah, this is like perfect.
Those portions are huge.
They fill these things, like no joke. And I actually love like lukewarm tortillas. It's just you don't find it many places.
And they make them all in-house here.
Yeah, I think Tucson spoiled me because they had a lot of like blue corn things in general, but like there was these blue corn tamales that were just like mouth watering for me. I will never forget them, but I haven't had one as good as Tucson. Blue corn tamales.
I love Tucson. Did you go to U of A?
I did.
My best friend went there for her doctorate, so I spent a lot of time visiting her and stuff. Just such a fun city. Like
It is. It's like a little hidden gem, I think.
Absolutely.
It's like, yes, it's hot. Yes, there's
hot as hell.
monsoons. But if you're fine with dealing with the weather, like the culture there is a little special pocket that you don't expect. Folks are generally pretty darn nice. There's a lot of food. Like some of the best Ethiopian restaurants I've ever had are there. And it's just things I would never expect when I moved there.
That's right. What a good experience. Like getting to go somewhere totally different.
That's, when I guess that's part of it because I left for college and stayed there for my master's and to work a little bit before I went to North Carolina, but that was 6 years of my life there pretty much.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't regret it, not one bit.
What years were you in the master's program?
2016 to 2018.
Yeah, what's her face was there at that time.
Okay.
I wonder if you know her, Victoria Navarro Benavides.
Yes! Oh my gosh, I like looked up to her because she was in her PhD program at that time, right?
Yeah, and
So
being
we were like
extra
all
special.
still within
Correct.
like, the same group, but obviously they were doing a lot bigger projects. I admired her so much.
Oh,
Still
my
do,
Victoria.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know y'all knew each other.
Yeah.
How exciting.
We did our masters together in Seattle.
I feel like she was one of the few people I saw actually like making a difference.
Yeah,
It was
100%.
just, like I was always in awe of her. Aw. I love when that happens.
I love my Victoria. Yeah, no, she's my best friend.
I did not know that.
Small world. That's
reason.
the one thing I do miss about higher ed
Yeah.
is that like opportunity to be connected. Yeah, she's now, because while she's working on her PhD, Chick is just extra. She also got her master's in Chicanx Studies. And so she's the chair of the Chicanx Studies program at Fresno State. No, not Fresno State, Mentira. Fresno City College.
That's still super close. I didn't know she was back in California. Okay.
Yeah. After she graduated,
I'm gonna have to reach out to her.
they came up there.
Oh. Well, I'm definitely curious and wanting to hear your story on the business side. Can we start with the tech side? Like, how did you make that change into tech? Particularly, how did you make the decision?
Yep.
And then, you know, like what field was in tech? Because that's been one of the highlights of these conversations in the
Yeah.
series is there's more to tech than just software.
Oh my God, yeah.
And coding. Like when we say engineers, like there's a whole lot to that even. So
Yeah, the engineers need to be supported by other people.
so how did you get into tech?
So my pivot from higher ed into tech, it was higher ed that got me into tech
Okay.
because one of my girlfriends, she was a colleague at another new college and university here in the Bay Area. She got recruited by this company to be an orientation facilitator. Worked her way up through the organization, and then there was a change in leadership where they decided we need to start looking at onboarding from a global perspective. So they started looking for a contract worker and looking for recommendations, and they reached out to me because my friend had put my name in the hat.
Good.
And I was like, hey, I think you'd be great for this role, like check it out. And I was not job searching at all. I was in the process of building up a program at a Pac-12, formerly the Pac-12, Pac-12 school.
That thing.
Yeah, RIP. And so I wasn't looking. I had my dream team. It was just as we were starting to emerge from the COVID pandemic, so we were going back in person, things were changing. I had a 3-year-old at home. My husband was happy with his role. And then this came up, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to say yes. Like, let me just...
Was it like in your spirit, you just felt it, or super random chance?
No, I think it was super helpful that, you know, I was sitting at my desk every day crying because just the
So
bureaucracy of higher ed, the attacks that I had, and especially from people that I really trusted and admired that started to attack.
Felt that same thing.
Yeah. But I thought it was like, oh, it's par for the course. I just got to get over this bad spell. But then when this role came up, it was like twice the salary that I was going to be making.
Higher ed don't pay enough, girl.
No.
Not for as much work as done.
And Mama had a lot of student loans that I need to pay. And I got a kid and paying for daycare and all of that. So it was so nice to get this opportunity. And like, I really had to make a decision. It was a 1-year contract, and I wasn't sure if it was going to convert. So I was like, okay, do I do it? Do I give it a shot? And I was like, you know what? Yeah. Like, why not? Why not me? You know? Why not try something different? I had previously actually worked for corporate. I previously worked for Delta Airlines and at the beginning of my career. So I knew the corporate space was a space that I really liked. And I probably would have never left Delta if I would have had an opportunity to transition to the corporate offices in Atlanta. And I kept applying, and just didn't get a role.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, well, what's next? And, you know, I looked elsewhere, which was great. And I'm so glad that I did that.
Right.
But so going into this pivot from higher ed to tech, I already knew what the grass is like on the other side. You know, it's not always greener. It's not perfect. There's still the bureaucracy. There's still, you know, all the who do you know, the network and all of that.
Absolutely.
And at the same time, like, I learned all of that and really cut my teeth in higher ed. I think the added component of being remote has been really interesting in a company that was going through...
Has it been remote since the start?
From the start, it's been remote. And people are primarily remote, but over the last 2 years, it's become more in office. And so it means that I travel a little bit more, which for me is not a problem. Like, I don't mind traveling, especially as a mom.
Yeah, I was like, now your baby's at that age, right, where it's actually okay.
Yeah.
And you're close to family now, like everything
Yes.
lined up. Okay.
It really did. It really did. And it doesn't matter just saying yes to trying it and being okay if I fail,
Yeah.
which is really scary, especially as the main breadwinner
hard.
for my family.
Oh,
Like, I have my parents that rely on me, my partner, my child. Like, there's
do you feel stressed about that?
oh yeah, all the time.
How do you handle that? Or is that like our next conversation?
No, I think that's a good
Because
conversation.
I'm definitely trying to. I am not the main breadwinner, but I'm feeling that weight right now of trying to be like the best, almost wife and the best mom and trying to make some money and generational wealth. And it's just like you can only do so much.
It's overwhelming.
And it's like I try to practice everything that I would preach in terms of wellness, but it is hard to carry all of that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
How do you do it?
Therapy. 100%.
Yeah.
Like, I found an amazing therapist that I just absolutely adore. And for me, the weight of carrying responsibility, especially as a firstborn, like as the Latina woman, where your role is to be quiet and just serve and be grateful that you get this opportunity to care for the family, and really sitting with myself, and instead of just thinking through, like, how do I fix this? How do I get through this? Processing it with my therapist and being able to be like, I am overwhelmed. I am so tired. And to hear my therapist reflect back to me, it sounds like you have a lot. And I'm like, oh my God, you're so right. Like, just having that validation has helped me be able to know it's okay. I don't have to do everything well.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot that I'm carrying right now. I'm, a caregiver to both of my parents and manage all their medical stuff. I take care of my son's medical stuff and his educational stuff and just general life because he only wants mommy. I care for my brother and my sister-in-law and their 3 kids because
Oh my gosh,
I
girl.
engage with them, and I'm the planner that says, okay, what do you need? How can I help pull this together? Okay, we're going to do it together. Like, I am the
That's even
matriarch.
more than I already knew you doing. So
Yeah. I
wow,
know. It's a
you
lot.
are the wayfinder for your entire family.
Yes, absolutely. And at the same time, I have learned to voice what it is that I need so I can continue to be that wayfinder. So one thing that I've been really working on with my parents is our end of life planning. So I lost my sister in 2015. She had been disabled her entire life, my entire life. So I always grew up with a diversely abled family member.
Yeah.
And it was just part of life and the way we
Yeah.
did it. And when she finally passed, it was right and time for her, which was beautiful.
No more pain.
Yeah, no more pain. And at the same time, guess who got to manage everything? Your
Were you
girl.
thrown into that role, or were you ready for it? Expecting it, I should say. You're never really ready, but
Yeah.
were you expecting it, or was it?
I knew that was going to be the role I was going to have to play.
Okay.
And it just sucked.
Yeah.
Because, like, I remember sitting in the parish talking to our priest about what we wanted her ceremony to be like, her funeral and all of that. And I was so numb. Because I was like,
you
this
can't
is the
really
only way.
grieve if you're trying to figure out.
Yeah, I was like, this is the only way I'm going to get through this. And like, everybody and their mama bitched out on even reading anything for the freaking mass.
Really?
Yeah, everybody's like, I can't do it. And I was like, okay, so why do I got to do it?
Like, I can't hold it together for everybody.
Your
But you
girl
did.
did. Yes, I did. And so from that experience, I've told my parents, I'm like, again, I will do everything that I can to make sure you all are comfortable and happy and whatever. And there is one gift I want you to give me, and that is peace of mind at the end that I can grieve.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
not that I have to sit here and pull together burial plots and pay for things.
Oh,
I'm like, I need you to do that.
yeah. That's a lesson for us all. Because you really never know.
No.
Never know. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Like, have kids now. Like,
Yeah.
you really never know. And yeah, I don't have a whole lot to give just yet, but I want there to be a plan, something that they don't have to worry or think about.
Yeah. Or even just a plan of where your child will go. Like, that's the biggest thing for us, where, I could see, especially having bi-coastal grandparents, one grandparent might want Landon over the other. Or one
my
can
gosh,
care
yeah.
better than the other because of health issues or financial or whatever. And being able to know that, okay, I'm going to make the right decision so that there doesn't become this drama
Yeah.
that is just inflamed by a sad moment
Yeah.
in time.
And in that sense, I love the idea of having godparents,
Yes.
but we have not designated godparents for Solomon, and I
Oh,
really don't know who they would be right now.
Okay.
Mostly just because, like, I kind of have always been someone where I'm like, I don't necessarily want godparents to be family because I want both options if something were to happen. But also just in terms of like who could actually take on and care for Solomon, there's multiple people within our village, right, that could. But I think it would be challenging in the sense of like bi-coastal, and then also just the piece of Anthony's community and my community outside of family is very different.
Ooh, yeah.
So it might be challenging, but I know we need to figure that out sooner than later. Just have that backup plan.
Yeah, we did for Landon. His godparents are not family. That was something that was important to us as well. And they're Matt's best friends that he has known forever.
And I'm like, I just don't necessarily have.
I don't have that either. So I was like, cool,
that.
if you want to designate them and they're willing to care for a child, like, I'm all for it.
The people who are my best friends like that, like, they don't have any kids themselves, and I don't think they would absolutely love on their godson, but that doesn't necessarily mean they want to take them in, take them on. Yeah. I think eventually, they would absolutely say yes and do it, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily the right people too.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's so important to have that, like, end of life planning.
Yeah.
So that.
And they've been on board with it? Your family?
Yeah. Kicking and screaming, but they've been on board. And so I think it also helps that, like, my parents' faith community, we're Catholic. And again, I live in Florida, so there's a lot of old people. So a lot of services. Ooh, went down the wrong pipe. And so they have a group of Catholic attorneys that they will do monthly events for people to do estate planning and wills and all that kind of stuff. So at least now I can be like, look, the church is doing it, and maybe we should go to one of these events, and we can talk about it and all of that. Also, at the same time, with a little grain of salt, because what they're trying to do is be like, oh, give your riches and tithes to the church as well. So I'm like, remember your family first.
Alms for the poor. It's like tithes. Yes. The extra giving we need to discuss. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
We need to discuss.
Yes.
But
especially the Catholic Church and all its stuff to our communities.
Okay. Like, there's layers to this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you pretty much are acting as caregiver for your family and working full time.
Yep.
And mommying.
Yep.
But you also have your own business. So how much time do you actually commit to your own business?
I know. That's been the hard part, because I had to close my business in Washington.
Okay.
Reestablish in Florida.
Oh.
And I think those are some of the things we don't talk about in business, is like the administrative side. It's always the glossy, the beautiful, the sexy, the social media, the marketing, blah, blah, blah. Yo, having to file paperwork and contact the IRS.
I think there's still steps I missed when I closed my business. I'm pretty positive that I missed some forms.
Yeah.
That I'm probably still getting mail at my old address. Like.
Yes. I think that was a part of it. I ended up doing some work, my business.
Okay.
I had to do my own website.
Right.
So I was able to actually build a website for a colleague and a friend who was like, hey, like, I'm looking to use your expertise in building websites. Could you build my website? So I got to incorporate what I learned in my small business and be able to do that for a friend while getting paid.
Right.
I have not been able to do as much in regards to like my actual yoga wellness business because I've had to be caring for everybody. And at the same time, I'm okay with that. And I think that's also something we don't talk about in the entrepreneurial journey.
Seasons.
Correct. It comes and goes, and there are times where I'm grinding and times where I'm not. And what I've really been dedicating my time into has been looking at this season of caring for my family. And so I actually put together a book proposal to write like the Latina's guide to end of life planning with your
I love that.
it's like something about like how to care for your elders in the final days.
Look, I know that's going to take some time, but when it's ready, please tell me.
Okay.
I will be promoting on every channel I have because I know that's needed. That conversation is not had near enough. And there's a lot more hurt that comes because of lack of preparation and the ability to grieve.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, like I was telling you, like I want to be able to go through that process. I don't want to have it stunted. That, oh, okay, I can only cry for a day because now I need to plan everything, you know? I want to be able to go through it. And that's one thing that I've brought in from my wellness journey is that our body will hold on to these emotions. It'll hold on to the hurt and it will harm us to the point of making us stop to face them. And I'm like, how can I be preventative about it? You know, I am a recovering perfectionist and control freak. So I, right?
Feel that?
Oh, yes, I know. So I think that's also part of it too. It's like, okay, what can I control? I can control my family now while they're alive, doing well, whatever. And I can control myself. And so I have been working with an amazing, amazing chica, Ashley Stoyanov Ojeda.
Okay.
She wrote the book Jefa in Training. And it is a business guide for the new cultural majority. And she's amazing. I love her. She's based out of Portland. And she has now created this authors group where we're able to meet once a month via Zoom, get one-on-one coaching with her. Like, she's helping us learn everything that she learned as she was going through her book process.
Okay.
So that we can be able to put our books out there into the world as well. Because our voices, especially as women of color, diverse folks, like we need to be able to produce knowledge, books that our culture needs. So that has been really, really helpful. And that's really where I dedicated a lot of my time over this last year has been to that. Have I done it well? No. And at the same time, has it helped me see that, yeah, this is something I want to keep pursuing? Yes. So even if I didn't meet all my milestones or get everything in, I'm like, Ashley, girl, thank you. I have really appreciated the incubation period because I'm definitely that. That's my way of being. Like I like to incubate and then I just produce.
Incubate, produce.
Yeah.
You're an executor.
Yeah.
You get things done.
It's like having a baby. You know, you got to wait 9 months.
And then you just get that thing done.
Yeah, for real. I was like, ooh, and we're done. There it is. What do I do with it now?
What do I do now? Here we are.
Yes.
That's funny. I'm like super thankful that I actually had a great labor experience.
Oh, beautiful.
I know not everyone did, so I'm like, to me it literally felt like, okay, we're done. Wait, what? There's a baby? Hold on, what? Like,
how's that go? I take him home? What?
The funny thing was, like, maybe TMI, but I
I love
delivered
TMI.
on my hands and knees, right?
Yeah.
So like facing backwards. So there was a hot minute I just could hear him but didn't see him because you have to stay there while they clean you up.
Yep.
And then they're cleaning the baby up. And I'm just like, I hear him. That's a good sign. What does he look like? I don't know. And that period, as short as it is, feels like forever. Because it's like, I just gave birth, but I can't see my baby yet. Like, what's happening?
And how beautiful that you were able to do it in a position that was comfortable and you
so
were called
thankful.
into.
They didn't even question it. Like, I thought I was going to have to fight for myself.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful. They were like, nope, we hear you. We got your birth plan. Like, you're good. I'm like, thank you.
Oh my God. Because that's
So
the thing.
lucky,
like,
so blessed.
I didn't know as a first time mom, like how clinical the experience can be.
Yes, yeah.
And
They didn't believe me at first. I will say that when I was saying like it's time for me to push.
yes.
And that was something I think I read about a lot, and then was hoping I wouldn't experience, but once they believed me and saw that I
Yes.
was ready, then everything else they also listened to me.
Yes. It
Just
is.
wish that first one you didn't question, but
Oh my God, I know. And it's so annoying because it's like, okay, we've been doing this for millennia. And you're not going to trust that I know my own body and my baby knows what it needs to do to be able to come into this
Right.
world and make that transition.
exactly. It's so interesting. Like, I wonder, are there actually situations where somebody's like, you know, saying like that they're ready or whatever it is, or that they need this, and it's just like, oh, you were completely wrong. Like, I doubt that that happens that often.
Yeah, no.
Most mamas know their body.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I was super nauseous. So I'm talking with my mouthful now.
I love it.
I was super nauseous, but pain level wise, I don't think I was like laboring, screaming, or anything
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
as like maybe typical. So when I was like, no, like my contractions have been less than a minute apart, I'm ready. They're like, okay, let's go triage you. Like, and I'm like, I'm gonna vomit. And they're like, yeah, that's normal. And I'm like, I think that means he's coming.
Yeah.
And then they measure me. They're like, you're 5 centimeters dilated or whatever. So like, you still got some time. And I'm like, I don't think I have that much time. Like, literally 20 minutes later,
Oh.
10 centimeters ready to push.
Oh, nice. And that,
20 minutes later, and I'm
yep.
like,
especially
I'm
as a first
trying
time
to
mom.
tell you, yeah.
That is wild.
That's what everybody said. Like, that doesn't
Yeah.
usually happen on your first time.
Yeah, no. And again, your body was ready. Like, it knew what it needed. It was like, all right, let's go to work.
There was so
Bye.
many. They were trying to like lay me down so
Yeah.
that they could just check,
Yeah.
see how far she is. And they're like, I didn't even get down all the way. They like started going back, and I'm like, I'm gonna push. They're like, don't push yet, just hold it, cause you'll rip if you push too fast. I'm like, I'm going to push. He's coming. I didn't even get back, and they're like, we see his head, doctor. I'm like, I tried to tell you, couldn't even get me down on this table.
Oh my God.
I'm telling you. But yeah, I think the worst part was the nausea for me.
Yeah.
I just they ended up giving me something like I wasn't medicated besides the nausea medication.
Yeah.
Whatever that was, I'm so thankful it kicked in finally because I just couldn't keep it down.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Which, again, it's your body. All your body is doing is squeezing, right? And so,
And I guess what started my labor was the pizza I ate the night before. So that pizza was like, I'm back.
oh my God, no. Yeah, no. I had
Sorry,
Taco
TMI
Bell.
for all the folks not ready to hear labor stories.
Oh my God.
Taco Bell for you?
Taco Bell the night before. I had so much hot sauce on that food. I think that was
We
it.
want something greasy or spicy right before.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yep, that's all I
How our
wanted
body
was
just tells
Taco
us, like-
Bell. Like, it's trying to get all the calories that it can for what's ahead. And it is just amazing the way the body works. And like, yeah, no, for me, I think the part I didn't know, I ended up beautiful labor. Like, it was the best experience I could have asked for. And then the
Good.
delivery was where it all fell apart.
Oh,
Because I
dang.
didn't realize that the doctor
Yeah.
was whoever was on call. And so this dude
Oh, so you
walks
were
up.
expecting like your gyno.
Yeah, I was expecting
Yeah.
him. And like this random dude walks in, looked like an English professor, like just wearing some jeans and a polo, and he's just like, I'm like,
You're like, this is not the
is
person
this?
I'm comfortable with. What is this?
yeah, and I was like,
Oh yeah, that could be startling. I bet.
I was like, what is going on? Oh my gosh, yeah.
That's
So
stressful. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm thinking my gynecologist warned me. She's like, it's not gonna be me most likely. Like,
I wish mine would have told me. That was the one thing. I prepared for everything. I did not prepare for that.
how could you if you didn't know?
Yeah, no.
I was under the perception that like whoever I'm seeing this whole time is the person who delivers
Yeah.
my baby. So if she didn't tell me, I wouldn't have known.
I know, seriously.
Yeah, she's
so
like, especially it probably won't be me because I'm gonna be on vacation a week, which I gave birth early than we expected, but
okay.
and thankfully for that.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I was like, I needed those 2 weeks. Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think he was even that far. I was due on the 15th. He was born on the 4th.
Okay.
10 days early.
Yeah.
I was ready on the 30th and the 1st. I was like, are you coming? No? All right.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Oh. Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Everything's good.
Could I
Were
do-
there desserts?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah.
Yes. I'm
Normally I don't, but like,
today, let's do it.
you know what?
I know. I was so sad. I went to a restaurant today for lunch and they had creme brulee on the menu. And they're like, yeah, it's on the menu, but we barely ever have it. I'm like, Seriously, you just broke my heart.
Right.
I was like, all I want is that creamy goodiness. So good.
Oh, I love it. Okay, there was a question I didn't ask about tech that I wanted to ask.
Oh, yeah.
So hopping back to it for a 2nd. Because you work within the HR space, or
Yes, I'm in HR technically.
Okay, so if somebody, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Bring these.
It was delicious. Yo, for real.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know how much I actually want. Ooh, as weird as it sounds, I might just want coffee. That might
Yeah,
be
no, that's
like
not weird.
all that I need. Just need that little boost, whether it's sugar or caffeine.
Yeah, yeah. You'll be up for a while.
I need to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds good. I'll do the choco flan.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love me some choco flan.
Sounds so good. Okay. Well, how?
Okay,
if
HR
people
space.
want to get into the HR space of tech,
Yeah.
how do they go about that?
Great question. So I think like we had talked about earlier, when people think of tech, they think of engineers.
Yes.
And guess what? That's only usually about like 60% of the company. The other 40% are people who have to support the business.
Yeah.
So it's either sales, HR,
The sales piece, I
finance.
don't ask about a lot either at that point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And sales is a really good way to get into the company. And
Yeah.
a lot of companies right now are investing in internal mobility. So they're not going to be hiring as much outside folks.
Ah.
They want to cultivate the employees that are there
Right.
and provide opportunities within the company for them to stay and grow.
Yeah.
So, I always tell, especially higher ed people, like, I want to be in sales. I'm like, all you do is sell. You're selling it in education. You're selling an experience.
I am learning that in real estate. Like, I literally was like, I can't be in
Yes.
real estate because I don't like selling. And somebody was like, but you love people and
Yeah.
building relationships and you want people to be wealthy and healthy. Like, how is that not real estate? And I was like, shoot.
Yes.
That was a while ago now, but
Correct.
obviously part of leading to my decision today. Anyways.
Yes. And I think that's the thing, right? Like, people see sales as like, oh, it's the used car salesman, slimy, all that. And it's like, no, the sale is only after the relationship has been built. You've been able to work for a company that has a mission, that is selling something to improve. And I think that's also part of it, is finding a company that helps align with who
That
you are.
you buy into, truly. Yeah.
Yes, it can't just work for anybody. Like, I could never work for a Tesla. Like, thank you to all those who do that great work.
Yes,
and
there are people who love it.
absolutely, good for you. It is not my calling. I cannot be there. And so, like, that's where I have to draw a line based on my own values. And the work that I do in HR has so many roles.
Yeah.
Where there's the learning and development space, which is the space that I'm in.
Okay.
That's all about learning, talent, career services, being able to develop talent.
Yeah.
And many organizations, their number one operating priority is talent.
Yeah.
Because they know at the end of the day, it's the people that
Gotta
make
get
the
people in,
company go round.
Right.
It's not the technology, how good it is. It's not the product.
Yeah.
It's the people. So learning and development is a really great space. It's a hard space to get into.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Very hard, because there's so much asynchronous work that's going on out there. Think of like LinkedIn Learning. You can go on there now.
Love LinkedIn Learning.
I know, for real. You can go on there and learn whatever you want from some amazing instructors.
Right.
Masterclass is another
Yes.
example, right?
When I was in higher ed, I told everybody, all my students, all my interns, other colleagues, like, you need to be on LinkedIn Learning. It's so good.
Exactly. And so I think that's the piece where there's this asynchronous learning.
Yeah.
And then those like myself are there to be able to do the in-person learning, where it's about sense of belonging, culture values, the organization, diversity, inclusion, belonging, those soft skills
Yes.
that can't be learned watching a LinkedIn Learning video.
Pre-recorded. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think it's really helpful having both and, where I love a classroom experience where it's like, okay, watch these videos or do this
Come
reading.
together, make it actually apply to us.
Correct.
Yeah.
And be able to do
love
that.
that.
And that's what I get to do right now in my role.
Yeah.
And then the other roles within HR that I was really surprised to learn about, like we have an entire operations arm.
Okay.
You know, they're the ones that are making sure you fill out your paperwork, you selected your benefits. There's the comp and benefits team. There are people working in finance. There are people working in marketing communications, both internal communications. So their entire role is just communications for the company.
Nice.
Which is super cool. And oh, bless
Excuse
you.
me. I got wild sneezes, girl. Sorry.
It's okay.
It's like pauses the whole conversation. Hold on.
No.
I knew it was coming too. I was trying to prevent it.
All good, all good.
Okay.
But so I think that's one, you know, just being open to whatever role you see, especially as we've been talking about the pivot from higher ed.
Yes.
Like every department that's in a college or university also exists everywhere else.
Yes.
Like legit at my company right now, we have created an entire career services team. And all they do is provide career services for our employees.
Okay.
So it's so cool.
Okay. Yeah, that correlates to me because I think even when I was telling people, oh, I work in higher ed, a lot of folks who weren't familiar with it are like, oh, so you're a professor.
Yes.
I'm like, I was actually, but no.
Yeah.
Most of the time, no.
Yes.
Yeah, that was like a 2-year stint. I was actually, but
yes. And
typically that's not my role.
Exactly. And I think that's the part that people forget about the support. It's the support roles in the background that are making the world go round.
Yeah.
And it is so wonderful to be able to have those roles. And I've really appreciated like working in the HR space. So that's why I'm here in town. We have our global HR conference.
Yes.
So everybody
That's
from our
exciting.
teams all around the world are meeting here.
Oh, how cool
I know.
is that?
It's so fun. I'm like, oh my God, all you
that's
people.
like, really, like I've seen your face on Zoom. Let's do it in person.
Yeah, or we've worked together for years and I've never met you in person.
So it's not just me.
No, it's not just you. It's with people I engage with daily.
Oh, I love that though. That's so cool to bring everyone together.
Yeah, and that's the piece where it's like, okay, we have a whole arm that is just DEI for the company.
Nice.
So I think it's important to think, like, if folks are looking to make a pivot from whatever field it is, whether it's finance or real estate or higher ed into tech, there is a role out there for whatever it is you're thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. May I do the choco flan, please?
And I just want coffee, please. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that's the piece that it's like you can be an accountant or a facilitator in finance, in the banking industry, in tech, in a nonprofit.
Yeah.
So all of them really, really work across.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Is there a particular way to stand out?
Yeah, great question. I think right now the best way to stand out is by cultivating relationships, especially if you're looking to apply for big companies. They're getting tons of applications, right? And so there's internal mobility, people who are already in the company applying for that same role, external folks applying for that role, and then contractors or interns that are trying to convert for that role. So you have 3 distinct groups that are all vying for one position. And it's going to come down to the relationships. So getting to know recruiters, making sure you're keeping warm relationships with them, and not just, oh, hey, I'm looking for a job, let me know if you have anything.
Right.
You know, and I think that's where I see a lot of folks where, you know, I'll go on LinkedIn and be like, hey, I'd love to have career conversations with folks, like sign up. And then I'm like, hey, now we're connected. If you ever need anything or want to continue cultivating this relationship, let's stay connected.
Right.
And it's those who stay connected with me, you know, it's not checking in every week, but it's like once a quarter, like, oh, hey, Kelly, how's it going? Or liking my posts or whatever. Those are the ones that I'm going to remember, like, oh, yeah, I got this job that opened up. Let me ask if they might be interested.
And be real about it. Like,
yeah.
That's a good tip. That's a good tip.
Yeah.
even when I was like in the higher ed space, I feel like those relationships can go a long way, but it did feel hard to me to get in if you didn't already know somebody.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful that conferences for me was
Yes.
a way that I really like connected easily and naturally, because you meet so many folks in the conference space, and it's so easy to be like, oh, we have this thing in common when you're at like a theme conference.
Yes.
I don't know if tech has conferences similar to that. Yeah.
Lots of conferences.
Okay.
And I think
Can you go to a conference if you're not already represented by a company? Okay.
And that was something I had to learn that I didn't realize, that there are so many different conferences out there.
Yep.
And the difference with higher ed, right? Like they have these professional associations.
Yeah.
So that's why everybody goes to
Yeah.
the same conference and you get
Yep.
critical mass. In tech, there are a whole bunch of other organizations
Yeah.
that are all trying to feed into tech. And so for me, I've been able to get connected to Latinas in tech. That's like one of my main ones. Lean in Latinas,
Okay.
which is based here at a, where are they based out of? Totally blanking. They started off at Stanford.
Okay.
You know, like Lean In, all the
Palo
things.
Alto area,
Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
exactly. And so just being able to find the ones that resonate with me
Okay.
and then staying connected with them. So I
Yeah.
got to present at the Lean In Latinas conference, and I did a session there for over 200 people.
Wow.
Like,
oh, I love that. I used
I
to love
know.
presenting at conferences. I
me
miss it.
too.
Maybe again. Maybe it'll come back.
Yeah, seriously. And it's because of that, right? Like, I had a friend who was on the planning committee who was like, oh, I know a great session that we should submit for a proposal. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
Thank you.
Oh, that's lovely. I thought that was the choco flan. I was like, ay, wow.
That's small.
I was like, and that was great. You know, it could have been like a petit four. It's artisanal.
You know, that's what
Elevated.
challenges me a little bit about
Yeah.
like fine dining is
Yes.
like, wait, that's supposed to fill me up? I'm gonna enjoy it, yes, but
Yes.
it's so I need to go eat before this. Hold on.
Yes, and we have Disney annual passes, and Disney is a thing that we do a lot with my
yeah.
family. And so we've gone to a couple of the finer dining restaurants.
Yeah.
But then it's like, all right, where's the hot dog
Experience, but
truck?
now I gotta
Like,
go get, you know.
I'm hungry. Let's go get some popcorn. Like,
Something.
whatever.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
Do.
Your straw? But it might melt.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just wait.
I'm like,
It'll dissolve a little bit.
delicious. So, yeah, I agree with you. Love a good fine meal.
Yes.
And I'm like, all right, we're hitting a McDonald's on the way home.
Exactly.
Because mama's still hungry.
No shame.
No, not at all.
Oh, I appreciate all this advice though. Like it's good for me to know.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think, really good. We're in the Bay Area, in the Silicon
Yes.
Valley, but that doesn't mean everybody's perspective of what the Silicon Valley is and represents is the same. But the commonality I hear is Silicon Valley tech. Silicon Valley tech. But tech can mean so many different things to different people. And there's a lot of transplants here. Like, we're not all from the Silicon Valley when we start to love and live in the Silicon Valley.
Yes, and I think there's this distinction that needs to be made around tech as an industry
Yeah.
versus the jobs, roles, and functions
Yes,
or
that are
divisions
technical.
that are within a tech company.
And I think even just in our generation, how things have changed is when we say corporate versus tech, like tech can be considered corporate, but like
I
when
know.
growing up, I was always told like, oh, are you gonna go the corporate route or, you know, stay in the university setting? Or are you gonna go dance and whatever, like of my world of options. But I always wanted to work in corporate, like growing up. And it was mainly because I was, you know, wanted the professional look. I love the suits. Whatever. I also love to work. I'm like a nerd, a little bit of a workaholic, all good.
Yes.
But now I'm like, when I see tech companies, I say tech, but I'm getting the reality that like the corporate world I imagine and tech are synonymous in this space. Maybe not everywhere, but
Yes.
you can work in corporate tech.
When you're working for a large company,
Yeah.
it's corporation.
It's corporation,
And I think
yeah.
it's interesting because tech, especially like my company, has this like need to still hold on to its small startup roots. And like that's one of the beautiful things about a startup is about innovation, speed, trying things
Don't wanna
out.
lose that.
I don't want to lose it. And at the same time, when you have, you know, multiple offices around the globe, there comes a point where you gotta like grow up and be a corporation. And so it's always funny to see that dance of like, how do you still stay hip and cool?
Yeah.
And also, you gotta be corporate.
Well, maybe related question then. How long have you been with your company?
3 years, just about. Mhm.
So what I've run into with a lot of like friends and colleagues is that they're afraid of getting laid off even when they know they've been doing great work for their company.
Yeah.
So have you seen that like same fear across your company, and like do you have that? Like, I guess is a bigger question. Are you worried about layoffs for yours?
Yeah, like any company.
Especially because you see it from internally. So
I'm in HR. Like,
Yeah.
we're not immune to it, just like everybody else. And I think that's the thing. At the end of the day, all of us are dispensable.
yeah.
And it is a matter of always being hungry and never resting to be like, oh, well, I'm good and I don't need to worry about anything else. Like, you know, I every quarter go into my resume and I update that.
Okay.
I make sure that I continue to cultivate my network outside of the workplace for those reasons, and why I also have my own small business. Like, you know,
Back up too.
if anything ever were to happen, I have all these backups and ability. Because at the end of the day, it's a partnership, and if it's not working for one of us, if it's not working for me or it's not working for them, deuces.
Yeah.
Regardless of how
it's
great
like,
you're doing.
I think we get worried about being indispensable, but we don't see the companies as indispensable.
Correct.
And it's like,
Correct.
they're dispensable too.
Yeah.
You have a choice.
You do have a choice, and you get to choose what that relationship looks like.
Right.
Whether it's a negative one, or a competitive one, or battling one, or, you know, a passive aggressive one, or just a happy go lucky one. Like, we can have all of those types of relationships with our employers, and it's also remembering who we are and having things outside. Like, for me, it all comes back to values. What's my number one value? My family. If anything will compromise my family, then I need to reassess whether this is the right fit. And right now, it's a great fit.
Yeah.
And we're able to do what we need to do, and that's like when I always have those self check-ins. And it's like, it's interesting because oftentimes folks don't manage their careers by asking themselves the hard questions. They look for a mentor, an external person. So what do you think I should be doing? What should I be doing with my life? And it's like, those are all great. And how can we also know our heart, our values are going to direct us to where we need to go? And sometimes those are the hardest, because then, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, que lindo. Wow. Here we go. We'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, please.
Girl, it's actually all yours. I'm just going to use this spoon.
I'm like, oh, I might not be able to eat that thing.
But it looks
So you might have to take it home. But yeah, so it's this fear of trusting ourselves. And that was something for me in my own career. I'm like, you know, when I made the jump, all my higher ed friends were like, you're crazy. Why would you leave a full-time position
especially
for
when
temporary?
You're that high up in your role? Because in higher ed, you made it to a point where a lot of us don't even dream to.
Yes.
It's like so hard to work up those ranks. So I would have had a fear factor for sure.
Yes. And I got a lot of the, are you sure you're making the right decision? And I was like, you know what? I'm making this for me. Like, I
and your
appreciate
value of family. You knew what would take your family further at that time.
Yes. And, you know, I still sought counsel and I still asked people and all of that. And at the end of the day, I was like, I got to make the decision.
Yes.
Nobody else can make that decision. And if I fail, it's my failure. It's nobody else's.
Owning it.
Yeah. And that's the hardest part, that self-accountability to our own career management.
Yes. I wholeheartedly love that and agree. And I think the entrepreneurship journey kind of, I won't say it taught me that, because I had to learn it in order to make the choice of entrepreneurship, but it kicked me in the butt and said, like, you own it or you don't if you're going for this, you know?
Yes.
You learn the hard way, but the challenge is worth it.
Exactly.
You do, because then you start trusting yourself so much more. Every time you make a decision, you're like, well, I know if I fail that I'm gonna pick myself back up, and if I don't fail, then whoo, look at who I get to share this with. Like,
Exactly. And that's the beauty. Like,
Yeah.
I think so many people are afraid to fail. And, like,
still am.
granted, right? Like, yeah, it's scary AF. It's time, it's money, it's especially like as
Yeah.
communities of color or underrepresented communities, we work hard to
Yeah.
get this place of people trusting us, and to
Yeah.
fail can mean a lot more
Yes.
than for like your typical white man.
Yeah. And I think what I've been learning even to this day is that what I think is a fear of failure is usually something else that I'm afraid of. So I really think we need to redefine or like kind of dissect like when you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid to fail, like what is it actually? Because failing is just a concept. For me, it was like the fear of failure connected to scarcity financially. So it was more like the fear of not having enough.
Yep.
And then the other piece was disappointment. It's huge to me, which my therapist helped me figure that one out because I didn't think I could figure that one out on my own. But I didn't want to disappoint people, and that's where a lot of my people pleasing came from, but especially my family. So the fear of failure was more so about not wanting to disappoint my loved ones, my parents especially.
Yep.
And I had to break through all of those things to at least say I'm not afraid of failure. I'm actually concerned about this, and this.
Yeah.
And then if you can figure out, well, what does that mean? Okay, I'm afraid not have enough. What's my backup so that I always do? Or whatever. Then I'm not so afraid of failure because I realize it's just these moving parts that I do have some control over.
Exactly. And taking the time to learn what is it that's really at the root of it. Because for me, it's the fear of abandonment. I'm like, if I'm not perfect, if I don't make everybody happy, if I don't do everything I'm supposed to do because everybody's expecting me to, then they're going to leave me. And they're not going to love me. Which is not true.
Right.
Like, not true at all. But, you know, it's something.
But if you can say that and process that out loud, then you can tell yourself,
yes,
that's what I'm afraid of, but it's not true. So let's do it.
Exactly. And, you know, that was a lot of work to get to that point of being able to say, damn, I'm afraid of people leaving me.
Yeah. Are you in your 30s also? Yeah. It's some about like our 20s and 30s, but especially our 30s where it's like, I just have so many more moments where I'm like,
it's our Saturn return.
Goodness. Thank goodness I get that now.
Yes. It really is that perspective. I think 30 is that sweet spot where we were kids and we could just do whatever or experience whatever or had to grow up quick.
Yeah.
And then in your 20s, you kind of start to figure out who you are. Yeah. And then in your 30s, it's like, okay, is this who I want to be forever?
Yes. I think 30s is really when the wisdom building starts. Like you can have knowledge in your 20s, but I think the wisdom building from experience and the real reflections don't start until late 20s, early 30s, and then you're like, now we're getting some foundation to us.
Yes.
And that's when I feel like the mentorship really kicks in when talking to others.
Yes.
It's real experiences and time that teaches you so much. We can only read so much in books, and I've always been a reader, but you can only get so much from that.
Which makes me wonder, like, you know, this generation of employees, these new youngins coming up in the game, they were heavily impacted by COVID. And the isolation, not getting to develop those people skills, engagement, collaboration, working together.
But they learned it in the digital space in a completely different way than we did.
Yes, in a space that can be weaponized so quickly.
Yeah, that's true.
By posting something not nice or trolling or whatever. So I just wonder what the next generation. Oh my God, I know, for real. Like, what is this next generation of employee going to look like? And what skills do we need to be helping people develop, cultivate? Like collaboration.
Yes. Well, and then the piece that interests me even more so than that, because I have already seen it in just spaces like church space even, is like, not just what does that generation of employees look like in terms of like these strategies and skill sets, soft skills especially, but what does it look like when they come together, our generation, generation before us, with our digital generation, because that's where I see like a lot of the clash happening just in day-to-day life. But we need to work together for a common goal of the company. So like, where does that blend happen?
Yes.
That's interesting to me.
Yes, and it comes back to the difference between communal community focused culture versus individualistic also,
Yeah.
where, like, it's one thing for them to engage, it's another for that young person or that older person or whatever generation they're in to care about the other person enough to be like, okay, let me teach you, or let me help you, or let me pass my wisdom, or let me teach you something new. And I think that's the part that's really interesting. When I talk to my colleagues over in Asia, for example, very communal focused culture.
Right.
And they're like, oh yes, we do all these things to help our new hires. And they're like, what do you all do in North America? And I'm like, hang out with them for a day and then say good luck.
Well, and there's this picture of like, I was constantly on search for a mentor because we were told to have mentors. But they're in a generation raised by influencers.
Yes.
So if they have influence and advice coming around them constantly, are they actually going to be the opposite and not want to mentor and like have this urgent desire to just figure things out themselves and shield out the folks above them because they've already been getting so much in their minds digitally from influencers?
And it's an echo chamber.
Yeah, and that's a lot. So I feel like as you mature, if you're always getting other noises and voices, they're going to start to want to just hear your own. Whereas for us, we might have grown up just hearing ourselves and tired of our own thoughts, and now we want a mentor to help us figure it out.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like
mind blown. Because you're totally right. Because there are so many times where I talk to people and they're like, oh, I just went to the school of YouTube. Or, so-and-so influencer. Oh my God, I know. Oh, this hashtag is trending on TikTok. And I'm like, what? I'm like, you're taking career advice from TikTok.
Yeah,
like,
and some of it's actually good, but to field what is sound advice, what's not, that's like energy and capacity that I don't always have, but they're used to it.
Correct.
They're used to it.
Ooh,
Our generation
so
is constantly like, I need a social media detox. We're turning it off.
I know, but we're also the generation in the middle, which is so interesting.
Both of us created it,
I know, yeah, right? We're neither
much are the
here
ones
nor there.
created
Like, I remember getting my first beeper in middle school. I know. Oh my God, so aging myself.
If you want to reach me? Okay.
Yes. And that was such a thing. I was like, wow, this is so cool. And then I forget it at home because I'm like, nobody else has anything. I remember when I got my first smartphone.
Yeah.
Legit, my boss, who was an older person, was like, why are you talking into a calculator? Because, it was like the BlackBerry. And I was like, no, this is called a smartphone. And they're like, well, it looks like a dumb phone.
Right. Everybody would say that. That's a dumb phone. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes.
And I was like so against iPhones at first. I was like, I don't want an iPhone. Like, I need real buttons.
Oh, yeah, look at us
ever
now.
since I've had an iPhone, have not gone back. So
I know. I'm a sheeple. I'm like, I love all the...
It took me a while, all right? I was resistant, but that's kind of
At least you put
pattern
on
of
a fight.
my life. I will fight things first. Working on that.
Yes.
I need to go learn for myself the hard way. Thank you.
But it's so nice to get a detox from technology.
Which I haven't done one in a long time, but I feel like I will detox a little bit from it personally. Yeah. But it's so important to my business too, and for my friends who even could refer me or something like that to not see that like I'm MIA.
I know.
Because everybody I know is everywhere. It's hard to stay connected if I detox.
Yes. Exactly. I agree with you, and I think that's the part that is really interesting around how do we cultivate friendships, especially when we're geographically dispersed.
Yeah.
And we're not seeing each other as often. Like, I used to do a once a year retreat with my girlfriends, and we would go on vacation together. And,
I always wanted that.
Oh my God, it was beautiful. And that's kind of fallen off because everybody started living their lives. And it's like, okay, well, we'll see you maybe someday again.
Yeah.
And it's like so important to be able to use the social media, at least that people can keep up and see what you're doing or going on and all of that. So I have like this love-hate with social media, which again, like for my small business makes it really hard. And why like I've really focused not so much on social media, like TikTok, Instagram, And I focus on LinkedIn as a professional platform. Because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to engage professionals that want to improve their abilities from a Latina perspective. And I've been able to dial into that. And like, okay, this is how I'm going to create a strategy that I'm going to do, right? We'll still have kind of presence out there. And then I have my small, we'll go back and forth. Like, who love to deactivate Facebook.
I went on there today and responded to birthday messages I got 3 months ago.
Oh.
And literally, the last thing I had before the birthday messages was in December. I said, here's my annual attempt at being active on Facebook again, actually connecting with people. And I was like, last week. Yeah, I'm the worst at Facebook.
Oh, me too. Worse. I hate it.
I like every time I need a group, like if I need to sell something, marketplace even, or there's a conference, so now there's a group related to the conference, and how we connect with each other during the conference. Okay, but on my regular days, I'm the worst at
It's like, yeah. And then, but I have someone taking history, and that's something that I think about now. Like, albums on there that I have nowhere else.
Exactly.
So I'm like, how is this new generation, right, of kids growing up? One thing I love my husband did was create. And my husband sent him one little email and saying, hey, this is what you did, but blah, 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 and a couple of pictures. I don't know, we read it somewhere.
And I want to do that now.
And it's so nice because you also get it before anybody else gets it, right? And then my husband went and passed it on to my son when he was
Yeah.
Oh, I know. That's darling. They're just like, oh, how are you going to get that? So it's
so cute.
You know, it's like there's so much in there of my son. He already knows and has built this digital footprint without even knowing. And of course, it comes to all the information and what do you share? Right? Like all my accounts are private where I teach every child. I know the people I'm proving. And I appreciate some folks have chosen to not show this to me.
We debated that a little bit. Yeah. It was like, you know what, we don't necessarily have anything that like sparks us but you never know. But most people looking at our paper, people are right? So that's literally their question all the time. How is tolerant tolerate online?
I know.
So sharing the poison is normal for us, but I absolutely ask every time we're with like other moms and families or whatever. It's like, is it okay to get to the picture? You want me to wear their face out? Like, what do you want? There's one. Your kid on the web.
Like I know for real. The web. Yeah, like now they make you at least the people that I've talked to are
they send me photos every day. I don't think they photos.
Yeah. And then that's the thing. Like it's cool right now because well, like, I'm sitting here and cooking for your child. And I'm like, I'm waiting for somebody, my child. For real, exactly. I'm like, what? Like, you feel like if you're going to put my son on the front page of your Facebook,
so to make it try to look
I know, right? I'm like, so how do we make that work for us? Because you're orbiting and right? Because people might be like, it's great. I believe in my son is having a wonderful time. I want him to be able to potentially encourage other kids who look, sound, and could be him. To consider for that just no, it's hard. It's such a catch
too. It was like I was like on every pamphlet. I'm like, I'm not the only black person in here, right? Like, hold on.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. They're like the only one who wants teachers.
Right now, yes. Thank you.
Yes.
So, I know we've had a lot of conversations. In the very first episode of the series, we changed it. Off the interactive, but he asked every guest this question, and the answers have been simpler, but very distinct in different dimensions. Okay, I've already started talking. How would you describe
Oh, well. Okay. Great question. I think when I feel well, it is holistic in the sense that it's not just about the finances, right? I also think about well-being, of the energy, for the exchange that we have or that we get. And so that can be wealth of time. My dad's retired. So he has wealth of time that he gives my son. And he picks up Landon from school, takes him to school, they're best friends. And like he's so wealthy, which is how he spends that. And obviously the financial being able to afford being able to owning our vehicles, owning things that will make us be able to have wealth in other ways is totally other. And yeah, wealth is not black and white. It's always a million shades of gray. But the good thing about like having the great purpose, I feel like very like solidified and where it's like, I'm so grateful that I had this wealth of conversation with you. Right? To be able to sit here and just be like, all right, let's talk about life. Talk about what we've done and that's wealth of friends, family, I mean, generational wealth, we talked about that as well. I definitely think that generational wealth is the right thing to and this, we're kind of exactly individuals who are like, take my money and you also go out and make your own money and fill up for you. But yeah, I think we need to be able to earn our keep and at the same time, when it comes to parents as well, it really are underserved, underrepresented, everything. Being able to get us those basic is so that we can continue. Because like my parents didn't make $1,000 together for a family of 5, and making almost twice that by the time I was living. It's crazy. And like
crazy thinking that little you have like that, but not crazy to not put them there, right?
Exactly. And like my husband and I, we last year taxing, we're like teetering on shifting into income bracket.
That's huge.
Right? Like part of like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Like we both work so hard and that's weird. All of these things they change. And so how did I watch the
generational wealth, the same as communal wealth, and you take care of your family, or you take care of the community. Like, there's so many negotiations that come once you hit that goal. Like,
and knowledge. I had the opportunity to last Christmas on a cruise for these kids. Son was 4. I didn't have a passport until I was like 28. My parents never had a passport. They got their first passport at 72. I'm like, this is a generation being able to get
Especially because they appreciate it.
And now it's like another type of nature, especially with my son. He's an only child. He will always be an only child. So he gets anything and everything. Like, as long as I'm telling like, mom and dad, you're a boy, you make a good decision, and if you don't make a decision, it's like, mom, talk about it together. Then you can go ahead and do a lot of things that we live in Florida. It's cheap and easy and I have older parents, so it's like generational for me. And Landon's like, I want to go to group. I'm like, Linda, you know, not everybody gets to go. It's here. And so it's been a really cool experience. And my parents, they did growing up for us. We would drive down and every spring break for me. 2 days driving in a van. Yeah, like that was what they were able to do. And now I'm taking it to that next level, giving my son the experience before he's even so we're like, Europe or something. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, who would ever think? Right. And, you know, again, little Elita hanging out in her room in New York going, oh yeah, I'm going to go take my 5-year-old across the park. I mean, that's nuts. So exciting. Yeah, generational wealth is so important.
Okay, well, this is really last time.
Yes.
What do you want when you grow up?
Great question. I think it goes back to my why. My why is to support people through transitions. Whether that's transition to a new job, transition into school, transition into the end of their life, whatever it is. I want my legacy at the end of the day. Whatever transition it was for their life. Yeah. I know their why. I know why I do, whether that's in the wellness space or in the tech space or in the family. It all comes back to helping people grow.
Girl, that is strong. Thank you so much. Thank you for this conversation, for making me happen on your video. I'm so excited I know there's going to be a lot here that's going to sharing your story. We're going to get probably a quarter of the story of what's there.
Thanks for the opportunity. This was wonderful. Great meal, and I love a little cheese bit over a good meal. So I look forward for folks checking it out and being able to, again, reach out if they have questions or need
and thank you, Presto, for letting us set up our cameras and have this conversation. Like you said, truly a delicious meal. I recommend it. So, no jokes, I fully recommend this place. Beautiful ambiance and atmosphere, too. Yes. Thank you, girl.
Thanks for tuning in to the Here to Uplift podcast. I hope you're finishing this episode feeling inspired and ready to take action. We want to keep the stories and inspiration coming, so please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with a friend. We really appreciate it. Welcome to the Uplift community, friend. Please join us for another episode soon.